Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Baby Lock Soprano. In this video, I'm going to give you a machine overview so you can get to know your machine. So to start with, let's open this up here. Okay, over here we have where you plug in your machine, and above that we have the on-off switch. On the side here we have the jack for putting the foot control, plugging it in. Up here we have the hand wheel. Now as you're sewing, this wheel is going to be turning in a counterclockwise fashion. So if you hand walk some stitches, make sure you turn it towards you. Here we have the bobbin winder spindle and the stopper for once you're done winding a full bobbin, it will stop the bobbin winding procedure. Then we have the spool pin, and the spool pin has a little stopper right there to keep your spool from sliding off. Here we have a guide for your bobbin winding. And here we have a dotted line and a solid line. I get into that more on our threading video, but it shows you the pathway to thread for either bobbin winding or for threading. And then here's a pathway for threading, and inside there's your take-up lever. Then we come down here, we have the needle, and of course the needle is the business end of your sewing machine. So when you're changing your needle, you have a lockout button here that's sort of a safety feature to prevent sewing while you're moving or changing the needle. Then we have the needle bar clamp right there, and behind it we have the foot holder. Now that foot holder is connected to the presser bar. So you could take this off and put like your free motion quilting foot on there or your walking foot. But the beauty of this foot holder is that you've got this little lever here, and you can quickly change between these kind of feet, have like your buttonhole foot or your decorative foot. You can change these real easily. And to put that back on, you just line up the hole right there in the foot with the hole in the needle plate. Lower your presser lever, and it goes right back on. Okay, and then behind here you have your buttonhole lever. Now this buttonhole lever is like a switch that tells the machine what part of the buttonhole to make the front bar tack on this other side, and that's what this is for right here. So that stores right up there. In front of that is the needle threader. The needle threader, again, I get into that on my threading video, but it's a really nice feature, works really well with this. On the side here we have a thread cutter, so once you're done sewing, take your fabric out of there and you can cut your thread nice and easily. Okay, now on the front here we have where you can put your presser foot lifter bar. It's a knee lifter, so you can push that with your knee, like a hands-free feature. You don't have to use your hands to lift up your presser foot. You can, because the presser foot lifter lever is right back there. You also have this button here to raise and lower your presser foot. Now once this is up and you've pushed this to make it come up, the lever will not work until you push it down, then it will work. But let's say I've used that, lifted it up, I can also use the knee lifter to make it go back down. So this is a really nice feature to have, to use this one. I use that on my machine all the time at home. Lift this up. Now we have the accessory tray. The accessory tray has room in it for putting your feet, has numbered and lettered pockets for each of the feet, and then these little clips kind of help hold the feet to keep them from falling out. It's a really nice feature. And you've got places for your bobbins right there. In here you can put more accessories, and you can put some in here, and then you've got this back compartment for accessories that you don't use quite as often. Nice, neat place to keep all your accessories. Then this comes off. Now this is great for sewing, it's called a free arm. It's for sewing jeans and stuff, jeans hems or pants hems. Really nice for that, because you can get that right up there. And then behind here, you can't see it, but I'll switch it. Now watch carefully. When I go like this, see how the feed dogs go down? That's for free motion quilting. If you don't know what free motion quilting, you can look it up or ask a friend, but basically disengages the feed dogs. To re-engage those feed dogs, you just push the switch in the opposite direction. I'm going to take a single stitch here. You heard that little click? That's the feed dogs re-engaging, and they're back up where they were before. So I'm going to put this guy back on there. Then over here we have the start-stop button. Now, it's not going to work if the presser foot's up, but it's also not going to work if we have the foot control connected. See, it gives you a little message in the screen here. So I'm going to just lift that back up there. But the nice thing about the start-stop button is if I was going to do a bunch of buttonholes, a series of buttonholes, and I didn't want to have to keep my foot down on the foot control the whole time, I could just do the start-stop and it would automatically stop at the end of the buttonhole. But for regular sewing, I don't use the start-stop button, I use the foot control, because then I just lift my foot off. And the foot control, of course, looks like this. This is a little guy down, little pedal down there on the floor. Okay, this button is your reverse button. So if you're stitching, back stitching a little bit at the beginning and the end of the seam, as long as you press that and hold that, it will give you a back stitch. Here is your locking stitch, so that it stitches a little knot in place is basically what it does. So it's a little less noticeable than your back stitch, but it's also not quite as secure as your back stitch. I kind of prefer to use this, but sometimes this is what you want, especially if you're doing decorative stitches. You don't want to have to back stitch. You want a locking stitch at the beginning and at the end. This is your needle down, needle up. So if I showed you this before, but if I push this, needle goes down, push it again, needle goes up. Now this machine, the settings are such that when it rolls to a stop, it rolls to a stop with a needle down. I can easily push this, comes right back up. Of course I could use my hand wheel, but this makes sure that the needle is all the way up and the stitch is complete. This is your thread cutter. Now we only use this after we're done sewing and we still have our fabric underneath the presser foot, then you cut this here. Don't use it while there's no fabric underneath there because it could cause a thread tangle. So you just want to use that at like the end of your seam. This here is your button for raising and lowering your presser foot. And again, there's other ways to raise and lower your presser foot, but that may end up being your favorite one, who knows. This one is your speed slider. Now what this does is keep you from going too fast. Like if I was doing an applique where I had a lot of corners and turns to do, I might want to slow my speed down so I can be a little more careful. Same thing with free motion quilting. I usually have it like 1/3 of the maximum speed, so that way I can put my foot all the way down on that pedal and it will only go so fast. On the other hand, if I'm just on a straightaway and I want to sew it as fast as possible, I put it all the way up to maximum, like that. This is a really good feature to have for people who don't know how to sew, or for maybe you're teaching a child how to sew. Put this way down like this, and they can press on that all the way down on the pedal, and it will just go along nice and slow. So this is a great feature to have. And then this is our operations panel. I'll get more into this in our basic operations video, but just know that this is not a touch screen. It's just information screen telling you what foot to use, what stitch you're using, where you would change the width or needle position, the length, and this is how you would change your tension on your thread. So instead of having a dial here, you have this little button here. You can change the thread. Right now everything's in default, but notice if I take it in, adjust a little bit, how it goes from dark onto light. That means it's not in default. So I'm going to go back to default right there. Okay, and these here, again, I'll get into that more, but this has to do with a sort of a floating function. This is an automatic locking stitch. This is an automatic cutting after you're doing the locking stitch. So that's your operations panel. I'll get into that more of that later, but now you got to know your machine a little bit. So thanks for watching. We've got lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines and techniques here at our Montavilla YouTube channel. So stay tuned. See you later. Bye.